Hi, I'm Moncrief, and making technology easier is what I do. So for the next few minutes, let me show you how. So let's start off with cleaning up computers from viruses and malware. Now first, this involves booting your computer to Linux and removing the important data. That'll be the pictures, the documents, the spreadsheets, QuickBook files, and so on. Sometimes I might also physically remove the hard drive, plug it into a USB adapter, and then use a Mac or Linux computer to grab the data. That way the Windows malware doesn't affect the data removal process. Then I blank your hard drive, reinstall your operating system and software, and put the data back on your computer. And typically I bring the computer back out to your house or business, set it up, install your printer, scanners, and so on. Now that's the only way that you can really trust an infected computer. Once these malware or viruses get on your computer, they have root privileges. That means all bets are off. So the only way to ensure a clean computer is to back up the data, wipe it out, and then reinstall everything from scratch. Anyone that tells you differently, that they can remove it with some software or something like that, doesn't really know what they're talking about. And so what about your antivirus? Well, that's like locking the front door to your house. It keeps some of the bad things out, but not really. Yes, you should have antivirus software, but don't depend on it. I've got a whole article posted on my website that explains this. Just click on Services, Antivirus to find out. So what about repairing hardware? Sometimes your computer components may fail. Light bulbs work great till they burn out. Over time, heat or even minute physical defects in the hardware can cause components to just simply wear out. Static charges generated from dust can also cause this. And troubleshooting it can be very difficult and time-consuming, but fortunately I'm an expert at it. Failing hard drives are becoming more and more frequent, so I cannot stress enough that you need to back up your data, always. The question is not if your hard drive will fail, but when it will fail. My rule number one with computers is you're only as good as your last successful backup from which you can recover. So what about recovering lost data? Well, the fact is that your computer itself is not really that important. It's the data. It's the pictures and all the things you create, the PDFs, the Word documents, the Excel files. That's what's important, not the actual computer itself. So if you have a virus or Windows crashes, then recovering your data is a pretty straightforward process. We boot the drive to Linux or a Mac or another Windows computer and retrieve the data, then reinstall everything much like an infected computer and put your data back on it. But if your hard drive has physically failed, then it can get expensive. We use a couple of services, including drive savers, to recover your data, but there's no guarantee for that. And the cost starts at around $800. So please, back up your data. So what about our backup services? Well, again, I cannot stress enough that you must back up any important data that you store on your PC or Mac. You're going to lose it. Look, I've got a whole box full of dead hard drives in my office. They're literally target practice now. Hard drives do fail on all computers. So we work with you to create an easy and economical backup solution. Typically, that's going to be helping you with CrashPlan or Carbonite, but we can also help with USB drives or even CD or DVD backups, which I really don't recommend. Usually, CrashPlan or Carbonite or something along that line is much better. So what about troubleshooting software problems? Look, I'm a software junkie. I'm also a former software instructor. That means I love to use software and just play around to learn it. So whether you need help with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, QuickBooks, or even custom business software, we can help. As an example, I had a client whose Windows printer service crashed every time he opened a PDF, which was from a known and trusted person. It was interesting to try to get those printer services back on and straighten everything out, but it turns out the PDF creation software was actually corrupting the PDF when they created it a certain way. And so we were able to figure that out, but again, it took time and it took a little bit of effort and trial and error. So what about network help? Well, as a network engineer and administrator with years of experience, I help a lot of small businesses. Keeping it simple is what I try to follow. The truth is that most small businesses don't need an array of complex software or expensive servers. There are lots of new web services now that offer small businesses plenty of options to securely share data, create VPNs between offices, do remote printing, remote computer support, and a whole lot more. So what about web development and websites and web design? Well, back in the late 90s, EverQuest was a wildly popular game among the 20 to 30-year-old age group. I was addicted to it as well, but it helped launch my web design career. The people that I played with in EverQuest needed a way to communicate information outside the game, so I learned HTML and then later other coding languages. It also prompted me to learn Photoshop, Illustrator, and other graphics software so that we could show off our characters in the game. These days, I typically design using content management suites such as WordPress or Joomla, but we have the skills to help you with pretty much any web design that you need. We can take over an existing website or even start you from scratch. If you need a domain name or email services, we can take care of the entire process with turnkey results. Well, what about video editing and production? Back in the early 90s, I had an outdoors TV show with one of my real good friends. We bought our own camera and shot our own footage. But editing equipment was far too expensive back then. Instead, we worked hands-on with a couple of editing companies to produce the footage. Now, really good editing software and hardware is still expensive, but not out of reach. Really good camera equipment has also come down in cost just like most of technology. We have the capability to shoot production quality digital video as well as edit that using a variety of software tools, including Apple Final Cut, Adobe Premiere Pro, After Effects, and much more. Whether you need a full video produced, a 30-second ad spot, or just need some old reel or VHS video converted, we can handle all of that. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch and check out our website. If you have any questions, simply click on the Contact Us button at the top and send us an email. We'll be glad to answer.